Obviously, we've seen in past rounds, we've seen Arash run the Carmine variant of Tapu Fini. Against Rain, that's really strong, but whether or not Jamie is running that, it'll be another question we'll have to get into the game before we see it. But like you say, it's one of those team archetypes that you need an answer for, because if you don't have an answer to Rain, then it's nearly an auto loss straight away, and it's a really difficult matchup to approach if you don't really have the answers to it. But you can see the teams on your screen right now. So we've got Jamie with a team of Togedemaru, Tapu Fini, Snorlax, Pheromosa, Mimikyu and Arcanine, and Carlos running a team of Buzzwole, Alolan Muck, Pelipper, Golduck, Vikavolt and Garchomp.
Yeah, that's not exactly what we're used from those Rain teams, because usually the electric type of choice is almost always to that Tapu Koko, because Thunder, having a perfect accuracy in Rain is such a good tool. If you can set up electric terrain with the Koko, then it's just such a powerful attack. However, Carlos decided that he doesn't need that. Instead, it's going with a little slower Vikavolt, and yeah, his whole team is kind of slow with the Buzzwole, the Alolan Muck, and he's not really, as it seems, trying to play this as a, well, like Tapu Koko team, as some of the more famous Rain players like Tommy Colleen have said before, that like Thunder on Tapu Koko, that is what makes Rain so good. Yeah, yeah, he's decided to go with the Vikavolt. Maybe that also carries Thunder. But yeah, that's definitely an interesting choice. And then Jamie's team looks like one of those setup teams for a Belly Drum Snorlax potentially. Yeah. Maybe there's even some speed swap involved. Mimikyu, of course, being usually the partner in crime for that Snorlax. Yeah. With Trick Room. We've seen Z Destiny Bond from Wolf Click being used at the World Championships. So yeah, it has a couple of tools to really support that Snorlax and yeah, get it going.
So it'll be really interesting to see if Jamie does bring that Mimikyu Snorlax. It's a good option to go against Rain, but things like Buzzwole and Muck.
And Muck, yeah, both of those Pokemon being on the same team here. Yeah, probably not what Jamie usually wants to see, but and exactly that's also what we're seeing here at the Elite matchup, as Jamie is just opening with his Snorlax and Mimikyu combination, whereas his opponent Carlos just leads off with that Alolan Muck and the Buzzwole. And both of those Pokemon, the Buzzwole with a very strong fighting type attacks, and the Alolan Muck with the knockoff, removing the berry from Snorlax, preventing it from successfully recovering that HP that it will lose with Belly Drum potentially, if that's the set that Snorlax uses, which with Mimikyu almost is like a guarantee.
It's a good opportunity here, would you say, Marcus, for Jamie to maybe go, if he's got access to it, that Z Destiny Bond, to guarantee the Belly Drum with the Snorlax? Or do you think it'd be more, get more for your money going for the Trick Room with the Mimikyu maybe this turn and try and get that off?
I think Z Destiny Bond in this particular situation definitely could work, especially if we could see like a fighting type attack from the Buzzwole and then the knockoff. And we are seeing a Z move, and it looks like it's going to be a Ghost Z move for that matter, because yeah, if it's the Destiny Bond, then the next turn we could see just a Protect and Trick Room play, and yep, there it is, the Z Destiny Bond. I mean, we were kind of like not calling it, because I think usually with the teams that have Pheromosa, and if it's that Speed Swap variant, then usually you definitely want to have Trick Room on that Mimikyu and play it maybe a little slower and more defensively, whereas on those Destiny Bonds, the Destiny Bond Mimikyu, they usually go super fast. But here we've revealed a tag coming out from Carlos' Alolan Muck, which is Taunt. Not a move that is super common, but yeah, here it really proves to be worth, because now usually I guess Jamie's plan was to just go for a Protect and Trick Room play the next turn, and then his Snorlax is like outspeeding everything in Trick Room and also boosted, and if Carlos managed to knock out the Mimikyu, then the Pokemon will also go down in the process due to the Destiny Bond from the previous turn. But yeah, now it's actually not as clear, because Buzzwole and Muck are still threatening the Snorlax, and now the Mimikyu can't just set up the Trick Room.
No, it's going to be interesting to see how Jamie kind of adjusts his board position here, because like you said, the Snorlax is in a really tight position at the moment. The Buzzwole threatening big superpowers onto it, and we are going to see that Mimikyu on Jamie's side switch out for the Togedemaru. Probably going to see maybe a Protect come out from the Snorlax. So. And yeah, there is the Protect on the Snorlax here. We will probably see, let's see what the Buzzwole goes for. It is
I think that was Superpower
into the Snorlax, and Muck going for a knockoff into the Togedemaru, doing huge damage and knocking off that Focus Sash.
Yeah, so Now with that Togedemaru, Jamie actually is getting in his second supporter. The Mimikyu was taunted, so it was clear that it wouldn't be able to do the job. But now with Togedemaru on the field, that can go for a fake out into the Buzzwole, and Snorlax is now obviously also threatening KOs on either the Alolan Muk or the Buzzwole. So Carlos has to play accordingly, retreats his Buzzwole into Garchomp, is maybe hoping that the rough skin damage from a potential fake out would be enough to knock out that Togedemaru. That could be something that we can look out for, and it actually is enough. So once again, one of those plays, we've seen that previously on stream, where rough skin is getting that KO. And Taunt coming out from the Alolan Muk. So this Snorlax, if it decided to go for an attack, which it did here with a return, will get the second KO here, but I mean like one for each side, so yeah, nothing is really like shifted yet in terms of who's got the momentum.
Yeah, do you think the Mimikyu from Jamie will come back in now and try and get that Trick Room up now the Muk, the taunt user, has been taken out of the equation?
I think you gotta think that Buzzwole is coming in for Carlos now that the Snorlax is taunted. So I think Tapu Fini, since now we know that that is his last Pokemon, was a good choice for Jamie, because usually on those teams, more often than not, you do see the Choice Specs Tapu Fini, and that would be able to get the KO on Buzzwole in one hit. Whereas both the Snorlax and the Tapu Fini should withstand even the ground Z Garchomp Tectonic Rage, exactly. So I do think that now Carlos, it's not as clear what he should do, because yeah, if he just goes for a superpower into the Snorlax, and if the Fini outspeeds and just KOs the Buzzwole, then he will lose 2 Pokemon this turn and also the game consequently. So he really has to be wary of that. However, then again, it could also be like a faster Buzzwole. We've seen a couple of like super fast Buzzwoles recently, but we haven't really seen it attack, and it also didn't take any damage yet, so we can't. It's really tough to assess. And but yeah, no, that's what a game 1 kind of is for sometimes, where you don't really know what are the items, how are these Pokemon trained, and we'll find out this turn.
We see an Earthquake come out from the Garchomp, and there is that Moonblast you were talking about, Marcus, into the Buzzwole. It is enough protecting that Snorlax, taking it down, and Snorlax free to get off a return and will pick up a KO onto that Garchomp. Jamie taking a big lead here.
Yeah, so now we did see that double KO turn that we were talking about earlier, and yeah, Carlos tried to go for the Earthquake here. Maybe his Garchomp is not the Groudlium Z variant, but instead a Choice Scarf to make up a little bit of the lack of speed of his other Pokemon. Or maybe he wanted to just like keep that information for later. His last Pokemon is going to be Pelipper, but yeah, it's doubtful that that will be enough to not only go past the Tapu Fini, but then also the very, very boosted Snorlax. And yeah, I really like what Jamie was doing here. He didn't really get too flustered after seeing the taunt on the Alolan Muk on the first turn, like really ruining his plan there. But he kept it calm. He knew that if he can get just one turn for the Snorlax to get 1 KO, which happened when he then brought in the Togedemaru for the fake out. And even though he was taunted, since like Alolan Muk usually is a good counter to Snorlax, but if the Snorlax has already used Belly Drum, the knockoff isn't as effective since you don't remove the berry, and it also does a little less damage.
Yeah.
So Carlos went for the taunt there, but that just wasn't really enough to stop the Snorlax because he needed some damage on the board at that point. So yeah, really well played by Jamie, and also with the Tapu Fini in the end. Yeah, we didn't really find out too much about what the items were in those Pokemon, but now we know that the Moonblast from Tapu Fini and Earthquake from his own Garchomp is enough to knock out the Buzzwole, which is probably valuable information for both of those players going into the games 2 and potentially 3.
If you were Carlos going into this next game, how would you set up? Would you kind of go the same route again with the Muk and the Buzzwole, or would you approach it slightly differently?
I mean, it looked like he had the Pokemon he needed. Maybe the turn 1 where he went for the superpower into the Z Destiny Bond, maybe he could have done something else there. But even if he had broken the disguise that turn, it really wouldn't have changed too much. So he really has to come up with a way of taking out that Snorlax as soon as possible. And I mean, with Buzzwole, he definitely has a prime Pokemon to do that. But it just looks like that with that Z Destiny Bond, Jamie has a way to just protect that Snorlax. And usually one of the key things about the Z Destiny Bond Mimikyu is, like, if you don't have 2 Pokemon that outspeed it, then it's already kind of bad for you.
Yeah.
And looking at Carlos's team, it looks like only the Garchomp can outspeed the Mimikyu and the Golduck if it's in rain. But in order to have Golduck in rain, you also need to lead like Pelipper with it, and Pelipper is definitely slower. So now you're in the spot where you will always, like Jamie will always be able to redirect at least one attack from the Snorlax, and that can sometimes just be enough for the Snorlax to do some stuff. Now, one thing that could potentially help him is if his Golduck has maybe Encore, to try and like Encore some of the moves from Snorlax. But then again, between Mimikyu with the Z-Decimon and Togedemaru, it can also be really tough to get off that attack. And yeah, it's really tough to see what else he could do, because the Tapu Fini just really covers the Snorlax's problem against the Buzzwole, as we've now seen.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you did lead the Pelipper and the Golduck in that situation, and you did get rid of the Mimikyu turn 1, possibly by doubling into it, then turn 2, you've still got to deal with possibly the fake out from that Togedemaru, which could be a bit of an issue.
And then Snorlax can potentially use Recycle, and if it's like a very bulky variant, then it's just super tough to get the knockout. But it looks like both trainers actually liked what they were doing in the first game, as we're seeing the exact same for Pokemon.
So we've got Carlos leading off with that Alolan Muck and the Buzzwole again, and Jamie gone with the same lead again of that Snorlax and infamous Mimikyu.
Yeah, now of course the game is a little bit different, because now the Z-Decimon was revealed, and Jamie really has to think about do I want to go with the same strategy again, because it definitely worked in the first game, and it also looks like that there is not really too much Carlos can do to stop it from happening here in the second game. However, for example, if Carlos decided to, instead of going for the taunt, just double attack the Mimikyu, then he would be able to get the knockout the next turn, also preventing the Trick Room from going up. And yeah, if he then finds a way to threaten the Tapu Fini, which is essentially what it comes down to, because in order to be able to take on the Snorlax, he needs his Buzzwole, but Buzzwole will be really threatened by the Tapu Fini. So next to Buzzwole, he would need something that can take out that Tapu Fini.
Yeah, and we do see that Mimikyu on Jamie's side of the field go for that Z-Destiny Bond again. It's going to pull in all of those attacks. Buzzwole goes for a Poison Jab into it, breaking the disguise, and Alolan Muck following up with a knockoff, taking it down just under 50% health and allowing that Snorlax again to go for that big belly drum. Going to proc that Pinch Berry and restore all of that health lost.
Yeah, so now I think what Carlos set himself up here with this play is the fact that now he's the one who, if he makes the right play this following turn, then things could be super good for him. For example, if the Snorlax just goes for Protect and Mimikyu tries to set up Trick Room, if he just taunts the Trick Room and has the Mimikyu, like, just leaves it alone, it stays on the field, can't use Trick Room, but also won't take anything with it with the Destiny Bond, then the next turn, since Trick Room wouldn't be up, Buzzwole could just target down the Snorlax. And if Jamie wants to go for the same play that he did in the first game, protect Snorlax and bring out his Togedemaru, Carlos could potentially double target into the Mimikyu, even though it's very risky. Maybe he realizes that he has to take a risk somewhere if he wants to turn around this matchup. So he could double target into that Mimikyu slot, but it really depends on what he expects Jamie to do, and we're seeing that Mimikyu is just staying in there, and we do see the knockoff and superpower combination going into the Mimikyu, but Mimikyu didn't go for the Trick Room. Instead, it tried to go for another Destiny Bond, and it looks like Jamie wasn't aware of how this mechanic works these days, because now you can't use Destiny Bond consecutively anymore. So he would have needed to use Trick Room here, since Mimikyu outspeeds both the Alolan Muck and the Buzzwole, and if he had used Trick Room, then he would have attempted to move last, and therefore the effect of Destiny Bond would still have been active when that Alolan Muck attacked it with the knockoff. However, now, yeah, Mimikyu just fainted without doing really anything, and while Togedemaru comes in, Buzzwole and Muck are still very healthy.
Yeah, and Jamie still, he has the fake out pressure now. He can fake out potentially the Buzzwole, prevent that superpower into the Snorlax, and maybe try and go for a knockout into that Muck slot, but Carlos is free to kind of just protect that slot, maybe.
Yeah, or switch out the Buzzwole in case he is one of those Assault Vest variants. And yeah, it looks like that's what he's doing, so I wouldn't be totally surprised if we would also see the taunt going into the Snorlax if he gets the chance here.
There's the fake out from the Togedemaru into that Garchomp. It is going to take some rough skin damage in the process. While we see the Muck, it is going to go for a Poison Jab into that Snorlax, get some nice chip damage onto it, and picking up the poison And who is this Snorlax going to target with its big return? It is into that Garchomp slot, and this will pick up the KO.
Yeah, so this could be an indication that the Buzzwole on Carlos' side has the Assault Vest and doesn't have Protect available to it, because yeah, if that is the move that Carlos anticipated, then Protect just would have really shut that down. Now he did decide to go for the Poison Jab over the Taunt that I was thinking about, which now opens up a potential Protect from the Snorlax, and so he could protect the Snorlax now and switch into Tapu Fini. However, thanks to the Poison, it might be close, but maybe after like another turn of Poison and then a round of like Protects, and then the next Poison Jab could get the KO. But I think that yeah, if Jamie protects his Snorlax this turn and switches into Tapu Fini and goes unpunished, then he can definitely still come back in this game, because Tapu Fini will still threaten the KO on Buzzwole, and Muk might not be able to get the KO on Snorlax that next turn. So yeah, this is still, despite that Poison really limiting Snorlax's turns, that it will stay on the board, yeah, this could still be a good opportunity for Jamie.
And I wonder if Carlos will read into that maybe possible Togedemaru switch, but we're not going to see Togedemaru switch out. We're going to see the Snorlax switch out for Tapu Fini, and Togedemaru may go for a Spiky Shield, protect itself here.
Yeah, potentially that, or just a Zing Zap, which is what we're seeing here. And maybe also going for the flinch chance. Superpower is coming out, hitting into that Tapu Fini, won't do too much damage while also lowering Buzzwole's stats in the process. And the Alolan Muk just goes for another knockoff here into the Togedemaru with a chip damage. Yeah, before we've seen that did KO in the first game. This time around, Togedemaru is able to hang on here. And so Jamie, yeah, still has 3 Pokemon that he can maneuver around with, and now it's really all about the Tapu Fini. His other key Pokemon, the Snorlax, yeah, it's just like really hurt now. It's poisoned. It already ate its berries, so, and now since he switched out, all the boosts from Belly Drum are gone. So yeah, the Tapu Fini really has to find a way to carry the game, and I do think that potential flinch from Zing Zap might be one of the outs that Jamie could try and go for here.
As we see the Buzzwole on Carlos' side switch out to Pelipper, that is going to summon the rain to the field with that Drizzle ability, and we are waiting to see what this Tapu Fini does if it goes for that Moonblast into that Buzzwole slot.
And we're seeing Encore. Okay, so this Muk now is locked into knockoff, and yeah, with that, he doesn't even have to rely on a flinch to stop that Muk from knocking out his Tapu Fini, because now it's locked into knockoff. So yeah, let's see where this knockoff will go. It's going into the Tapu Fini, so that should be a choice Specs, I guess.
Yeah.
That was knocked off. So now we have the Tapu Fini that is free to do whatever it wants, while the Muk is now the one that is choiced in a way into knockoff. So yeah, that's how it goes. So yeah, Muk obviously would be able to knock out the Togedemaru if Jamie gave him the chance. However, simple Spiky Shield and say like a Dazzling Gleam or Muddy Water. Yeah, Jamie definitely isn't out of this game yet at all. However, now since Choice Specs is removed from the Tapu Fini, yeah, and if that Buzzwole has the Assault Vest like we expect, then Tapu Fini wouldn't be able to get the knockout there anymore.
No, not at all, and I think you really have to double up onto it to get that knockout. We do see the Tapu Fini go for Muddy Water here, take down the Pelipper, does faint, and proc what will be probably a Figgy Berry onto the Muk, regaining all of that health. Do see the Muk go for a knockoff into the Togedemaru. It is into that Spiky Shield, so we'll take a little bit of residual damage from that Spiky Shield. And Carlos down to his last 2 Pokemon, the Buzzwole and the Alolan Muk there.
Oh, this is like really close, and now it comes down to a lot of things. So the Muk can't protect this turn, meaning that if Jamie wanted to, he could just double up into that slot with a Zing Zap, and then maybe Muddy Water would already be enough. But then again, Muddy Water could potentially miss, but you might also want to get that chip damage on Buzzwole, or it's probably a little more than chip damage in Rain, which Carlos set up for his opponent here in this scenario. So we are seeing that Zing Zap. It's going into the Buzzwole actually, so he wants to try and get the KO there. We are seeing the Moonblast as well, so now the question is, will this Buzzwole be able to hang on there? And yep, it proves to be Assault Vest. It gets off this, what should be a Poison Jab. Yep, there it is, and that will knock out the Tapu Fini as it does. And Carlos now got rid of that Pokemon, and now we definitely got confirmation that this is an Assault with Buzzwole. Jamie really wasn't sure. I mean, though he didn't really have any way of knowing, since the only damage he saw being dealt to the Buzzwole before was that Moonblast KOing it in the first game. But back then he had the choice specs. So now, yeah, Jamie tried to. Yeah, like the way I really liked the way he played it, encoring the Muk into knockoff, because it looked like, yeah, with knockoff, Muk just wouldn't be able to do too much to the Tapu Fini, but it removed the choice specs, and yeah, in the end, the Buzzwole was able to hang on the double target here from the Togedemaru and the Tapu Fini, and yeah, all of a sudden, yeah, he loses 2 Pokemon, and yeah, has to forfeit this game, and we're going to a game 3.
Wow. What a good game that one was, and Carlos really adapted super well in that game. You know, he led the same as he did in game 1. It didn't quite work out for him, but he just changed his play up slightly and put himself in those really, really good positions, and eventually forcing the Snorlax out after it had belly drummed. And I think from that point on, he kind of just maneuvered things in his direction. And Jamie really struggled once losing the choice specs on that Tapu Fini. He had no real obvious answer to get rid of the Buzzwole, which then proved to be the kind of the crux to the end of the game.
Yeah, I definitely think Jamie must be kicking himself though after that mechanic with the Destiny Bond where he tried to go for the consecutive usage. Yeah, maybe, yeah, that's like one of the signs that maybe he hasn't like practiced with his team all too much and didn't go through all the potential scenarios, or he maybe also just forgot. It's always also like a little bit nervous playing on stream. We shouldn't forget about that either. So yeah, but due to the fact that he tried to go for that again and it failed, he didn't get the benefit of taking the Pokemon with the Mimikyu, which would have happened because he kind of called the play, like he knew, or he expected his opponent to attack into the Mimikyu, which is what happened. So he had the read, but he just didn't like follow through with the play that would have really yeah, benefited him there. So he might just like still for the last game go for the Mimikyu and Snorlax combination again, because he must feel that he was very, very close of pulling it off the second time here. But in the end, Carlos, yeah, really with that, yeah, changing up his play instead of just going for the taunt this time, attacking the Mimikyu, really paying off there. So yeah, it's going to be interesting if we're seeing the same 4 leads again, then yeah, we're in for a wild ride potentially.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think Carlos will change anything up on his end? I mean, that Buzzwole Muk lead for him seems like his best kind of answer for that Mimikyu Snorlax, and then, you know, you don't want to lead expecting Jamie to change that. He's led 2 games with that, and if you lead differently and that does come out, it's going to be so hard to kind of gain any ground to try and catch up almost, isn't it?
Yep. I definitely think that Buzzwole and Muk, like those are the 2 Pokemon that he wants. One more option that I could potentially see is going with a Garchomp and Vikavolt lead, because he potentially has a combination of Earthquake and Discharge. That would bypass the Z Destiny Bond at least, and could do a lot of damage to both the Snorlax and then also a little bit to the Mimikyu. But then it's always like kind of difficult to calculate quickly whether you can win the end game if your opponent doesn't get Trick Room set up, but then they will have the Tapu Fini and you will have the Muk. But it's like you probably wouldn't be able to fit all the Pokemon he wants to bring if he has both the Buzzwole and the Alolan Muk. Since yeah, the Pelipper, while it didn't really do anything, actually he probably could afford not to bring Pelipper. So yeah, maybe that could have been an option, but Carlos decided to go with Buzzwole and Muk again. And yeah, we're here with the same leads for both trainers, and this is like really, this is one of those game 3s like I expect that Jamie's got to go for the Z Destiny one again, because like that's usually the situation you want to be in. Your opponent has 2 Pokemon that threaten the Muk, but you're faster than both of them, so you can redirect any dangerous attack, any knockoff, any superpower, and I think that's also what we're going to see here in turn 1.
Here it comes. This is a Z move, and will it be that Z Destiny Bond? You've got to imagine it is, like Marcus has just said, and we're going to see it is that Z Destiny Bond. So the Mimikyu again going for that move, pulling all the attacks into it this turn, protecting that Snorlax and going to allow it to get that belly drum off. So Buzzwole looks like it did go for that superpower, and Muk again going for a taunt into the Mimikyu, going to shut it down, going for Trick Rooms the following turn, and Snorlax going for that belly drum. Once again going to boost those attack stats, munch on that berry and get all of its health back, and it's a bit of a deja vu situation again.
Exactly. It's exactly the same play that we saw in the first turn of the first game. Maybe this time Carlos thought that if I go for the same play again, going for Poison Jab and Knockoff, actually that opens me up for a very risky play from Jamie's side, which would be to go for Belly Drum and Trick Room the first turn, not protecting the Snorlax at all. And so he might have thought that, maybe he tries to go for that, but I could taunt the Trick Room and Superpower into the Snorlax, and that really would have probably just given him the win instantly. But Jamie, with all of his experience, having played at the multiple World Championships before, knows that he won't take the bait in a way where it could be an easy win, sure, but it's also combined with such big risk, and you don't want to do that in the third game.
Yeah, and we see Jamie switch out that Mimikyu for the Togedemaru. See his superpower come out from the Buzzwole into the Snorlax. No protect from the Snorlax this turn. And the Muck is going to go for a knockoff into the Togedemaru.
Okay, so it's exactly the same plays as in the first game. But this time, Jamie did not protect his Snorlax, so he really thought that his opponent this time wanted to punish that protect and switch play, but Carlos, yeah, he stuck to what he did in the first game, does the exact same play again, and this time it kind of works because he gets off the superpower, and while it didn't get the KO on Garchomp, now he can switch in another Pokemon, which is Garchomp in this case, but even though all his Pokemon are kind of slow, all of them are faster than the Snorlax potentially. So it looks like Carlos now has found a way to keep that Snorlax in check despite the monstrous attacks that it has.
Yeah, and even though Jamie has got the Togedemaru out, it has to kind of target that Garchomp. If it doesn't, an Earthquake will pick up the KO on both targets there. Mug could potentially go for a protect kind of if the Garchomp is going to go for the Earthquake, but at the same time, does Carlos just want to target into the Snorlax with the Muck, try and get a Poison Jab off onto it because it is in range now?
Yeah, but you gotta imagine that Fake Out is going into the Garchomp and Snorlax might try to go for the Recycle potentially, since that would maybe help it take some more attacks. But instead, Muck is just going for the Poison Jab, and that is going to be enough to knock out Snorlax. And Jamie, you can see him there, he's really not happy with how that went. I really thought his opponent was going to double target into the Togedemaru. He made a risky play after playing so cautiously through the entirety of the set, but now it cost him the Snorlax because Carlos was just waiting for that one opportunity, and he got off that big superpower, and now also has taken down the Snorlax that gave him so much problems in the games 1 and 2.
Yeah, and you've got to imagine the Tapu Fini maybe coming in now for Jamie to try and deal with that Garchomp, but at the same time you're staring down against what potentially is a Scarf Garchomp and a Muck that can throw out Poison Jabs, so it's not looking the best situation for Jamie right now, and Carlos putting himself into a really dominating position.
Yeah, certainly, and unlike that Buzzwole, Tapu Fini probably won't be able to knock out that Muck in one hit.
No.
You gotta imagine. So yeah, really, Muck is probably what Jamie will have so many problems now, since due to the berry that it carries and Poison Jab being super effective here, Mimikyu with potential like Shadow Claw can't really do too much. Zing Zap, we've seen how little that did before. So it'll be pretty difficult for Jamie to do something about that Muck here.
We see the Togedemaru on Jamie's side go for that spiky shield, and Garchomp going for a Poison Jab into the Tapu Fini, going to take it just down to 50% health.
That's the third Pokemon with Poison Jab on Carlos's team.
Moonblast from Tapu Fini into Garchomp. It does pick up the KO, but leaves room for this Alolan Muck to go for that Poison Jab and clear the field of that Tapu Fini, and that's what we see.
Yeah, that Tapu Fini really, probably doesn't really like playing against that team. I mean, it can hit the Buzzwole and the Garchomp for super effective damage, and it landed one-hit KOs on both of them in respective games, but now, being hit by so much poison here, gotta feel a little nasty. Now Jamie also will probably feel like that because now he knows he's down to Mimikyu and Togedemaru, and neither of those two is really particularly known for being a great attacker.
No, not at all. I think the Muck's sitting in a fantastic position here for Carlos. I mean, what could you do here if you're Jamie? I mean, you could lock it potentially into the Poison Jab. It doesn't affect Togedemaru, but then it all depends on what Carlos's last Pokemon is and what he brings out, because you can't just freely allow a Pelipper. What we see him bring out, just attack freely, because it is Togedemaru is so low on health, it's going to be killed.
Yeah, really, locking the Muck into Poison Jab and also somehow knocking out the other Pokemon is probably the only way of Jamie winning this, because then Muck can't really hit Togedemaru, and Togedemaru would probably be able to whittle it down with repeated Zing Zaps and then Encores in between. But yeah, with Pelipper still being on Carlos's side, yeah, he can just pretty safely double target into the Togedemaru, and there's not really much the Mimikyu can do. I mean, we haven't really seen any other move from it except for Destiny Bond. So in theory, there could still be some crazy move. Yeah, but usually with the standard moveset, I don't see any way for this Mimikyu to stop the Pelipper from attacking this turn.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for Jamie, but as you say, we don't know the other moves on this Mimikyu, so something super strange could come out. We do see the Togedemaru go for a spiky shield. Mimikyu is going to go for a Shadow Ball into the Pelipper, break that potential Focus Sash, which you normally see on the Pelipper.
And there's a Scald, and that should be knockoff. Oh, he actually went for another Poison Jab.
And that's into the Mimikyu, and that is going to break that disguise.
Okay, but that opens up like a small window of opportunity for Jamie, because now he could, with a Shadow Ball critical hit on the Pelipper potentially, or getting a super high damage roll, that's probably not enough. Yeah, he probably needs the critical hit to knock out the Pelipper, and then he could Encore the Mug into Poison Jab. I think Carlos should have gone for the knock off this turn, just to ensure that he won't be knocked in. That he won't be locked into Poison Jab for the remainder of the game. But yeah, there's still some slight opportunity here, or maybe Jamie expects his opponent to try and go for another Poison Jab, and he could double target into the Pelipper.
Protect coming out from Pelipper on Carlos' side of the field. We see a Encore into that Alolan Muck from the Togedemaru on Jamie's side of the field, which it is locked into the Poison Jab.
Okay, Pelipper just protected in the face of a Encore Togedemaru. Was that a wise decision?
Yeah, now the Togedemaru just locks it into the Encore and Togedemaru can win the game.
Or just knocks it out, yeah, and then he can just repeatedly Encore the Muck. Oh no, Carlos, what have you done? I think he's also realized that this might turn out a little bit differently from what he thought it would be. Really staring down into the game now, thinking about, I guess that's a thing, and so yeah, I mean, I guess Jamie just tries to double target the Pelipper now, and the Mug won't be able to really do anything. So I think his only chance, yeah, he tries to go for the double protect, fails, and Togedemaru will knock out the Pelipper, and he's only left with that Mug that can't touch the Togedemaru. What a turn of events here.
This game is just flipped around completely. We see a Shadow Ball come out, which is not going to be super effective against that Alolan Muck, but Alolan Muck is locked into that Poison Jab. It does go for it into the Togedemaru here, but Jamie has put himself right back in the driving seat.
No, I mean, of course, you got to feel here with Carlos, who kind of just like missed this win, yeah, this chance for Jamie, or like the last straw he could like try to grab, and didn't go for the knockoff, and instead continuously went with the Poison Jab. But then again, also you have to give kudos to Jamie, who was able to spot that in a situation that looked really bad for him. Mimikyu and Togedemaru both really can't really do too much to this Mug. As you can see now, it'll eat the berry and be like super healthy, and you would think, oh, that's such an easy game for the Mug. But yeah, thanks to Encore and those Poison Jabs, it looks like, yeah, Jamie will be the winner of this.
Yeah, because as soon as that Encore wears off on the Muck, you just lock it in again, don't you? If Muck goes for a Protect, even better for you, because then the Mimikyu's as safe as the Togedemaru was originally. So Jamie's kind of put himself into such a good position. As you see the
he can go for Destiny Bond this turn potentially to just close the game, but no, it just goes for Shadow Ball. I mean, it doesn't really matter at this point. But yeah, what a like really sneaky way of Jamie here to still come victorious. I mean, of course he needed Carlos to like not make the optimal plays at some points, but sometimes that's just really what it comes down to. And yeah, I mean, what else can you say about this? Togedemaru still sitting there, probably, maybe it might even be like 1 HP, just sitting there staring down the Alolan Muck, which usually is like a super good Pokemon to have, but yeah, in this specific situation, it looks like Muck just won't really have any way of knocking out the Togedemaru.
Yeah, Togedemaru there on, like you said, probably it's 1 HP, determined, not wanting to give up, wanting to pull through for Jamie here. And like you say, I do feel really, you have to feel for Carlos here, because he had the opportunity to win this game. It was all in his hands, it was on his side of the field. All he had to do was make the correct safe plays, and there wasn't any risk at that point. And you know, sometimes, I mean, we've both been in high pressure situations before, and you know, sometimes you just get a little bit astray with your thoughts, because you think, oh, I've got the match, let's start.
Yeah, like he would have been at a 5-1, just beating Jamie, one of the best Spanish players, at least in previous years, who has also proven that he can still like compete with the best here, being 5-1 after this round. But I think the one buzzword that someone of us needs to throw down is like win conditions, right?
Yeah.
Like Jamie was able to spot the win con, and Carlos, as it seems, failed to identify that there was still an opportunity for Jamie left in this game. And that's really what separates the good from the great. Yet Jamie spotting that, where Carlos probably thought, like, as you were saying, oh no, I'm about to beat Jamie Martinez, like I really like got off the superpower, I outpredicted him a couple of turns, and that's definitely still an impressive feat. But at the end of the day, Jamie was the one who spotted this win condition, who realized that, hey, if he uses Poison Jab another time, I can all of a sudden win this game, and that's what happened. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing from him in this interview what he was thinking about, whether he considered this, because I like mentioned it as kind of a joke when the Togedemaru and the Mimikyu were the last. I think you did too, where we were like, it's like the only chance. We lock him into Poison Jab and then hope that somehow he doesn't just attack, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
So Jamie Martinez, will be the victor of this 6th round and advance to a fabulous 5-1 record. So like.